When it comes to mechs in the Battletech setting, the larger and heavier you get, the slower you tend to get as well. It's not a huge drop off all the time, but it is a general rule of thumb. But sometimes you have the need for speed, and you can't sacrifice tonnage to get it. So when you gotta go fast and keep the tonnage you have, you look to pilot a mech that is equipped with a certain piece of technology that gives you a temporary boost to speed when you need it. And that is what we're going to discuss here today. This is the Myomer Accelerator Signal Circuitry, don't know if I'm saying that right, otherwise known as MASC or MASC. So, what the heck is this? How does it work? And what are some examples? Well, I'm so glad you asked, because that's what we're here to do. What's up, everybody? My name is James. Welcome to Mechanical Mayhem. So, MASC, Myomer Accelerator Signal Circuitry. This is a piece of technology developed in the year 2740 in the Battletech setting, and it was developed to allow mechs to move faster for shorter periods of time. Not every mech has this, but technically, if you were to customize any mech in the setting, you could theoretically equip it with MASC, but there are specific mechs designed with MASC in mind. And this is because MASC takes up weight and space. So you have to include it in your designs for either a chassis or a variant. Now, this is something that, even though mechs designed to use it have it, can still cause damage, because what it's doing is that it is allowing the mech to move at twice its cruising speed. However, this is extra strain and heat and etc. that is put on your leg actuators for the mech, which can cause damage potentially. And while for the most part it is unlikely that it will immobilize the mech in the event of damage occurring, it is still a risk that obviously is very great, especially in a combat scenario. So MASC typically is reserved for sparing usage while actively engaged, and even in between engagements, you could say, is not going to be pushed too far to its limits unless you absolutely have to for emergency reasons, because if you don't, you'll get blown up, right? Get blown up or potentially damage your leg actuators and get away. You're going to choose the potential, right? In any case, that is what MASC does. It basically overclocks the Myomer leg actuators, which in Battletech is kind of like artificial musculature. It kind of mimics real organic muscles, but in a synthetic cybernetic way, alongside having pistons and other actuators involved as well. All this together basically gets overclocked. Think of it in a certain sense like overclocking your computer. If it's not set up to deal with that, you could cause damage by overheating and whatnot. Well, even in mechs designed with MASC in mind, they are not immune to its effects, because the circuitry and everything is just unable to deal with the excess strain and prolonged stress of such overclocked exertion, right? They're designed to operate at a certain level of power, and let's say, I don't know, the equivalent of an engine operating is designed to operate at a certain RPM. And while it can operate much higher, you typically run the risk of damage if you do that for too long. Same thing here for your leg actuators in a mech. Now, this is one of two ways you can achieve a greater speed temporarily. The second way is known as supercharging, and that's for their fusion engines specifically. It actually works more akin to using nitrous in a gas engine than a supercharger, but supercharger sounds cool. So, I get it. Rule of cool wins out. Now, that is a whole different methodology of achieving enhanced speed that I'm not going to get into here. But it's important to note, and the reason I bring it up is the fact that it operates differently than MASC. So theoretically, you could use both together to get some serious speed. The thing is, both have their dangers, and you're just compounding your dangers and doing both at the same time. So let's go back to MASC. This moves at double your cruising speed. Now, double your cruising speed is going to be faster than your outright top speed normally achievable for that mech. So when you look at mechs, you're typically going to see two speed ratings. You're going to see cruising speed and you're going to see top speed, and then you might see a third rating if they have MASC or some other type of thing, right? Cruising speed is what the mech does comfortably without issue, allowing for easy maneuvering through pretty much any terrain features in combat, not in combat, whatever. Cruising speed is just what it sounds like. You cruise around, and there's no real extra attention needed from the pilot or anything. The mech is just doing its thing at this speed. Your top speed is when you have, your acceleration all the way max. The mech is at the fastest it can go, and this speed is going to potentially sacrifice combat capability in terms of aiming and being accurate and all that. It's going to cause a lot more bouncing around as the mech is just going full tilt, and it could be a bit more difficult to navigate some more treacherous terrain features at this speed. Well, MASC goes even faster than that, which can cause issues as well, but sometimes you just gotta go fast, right? So, in doing this, you will go fast, and mechs that have MASC are fantastic for really disrupting, let's say, a battle line, because you have this heavier mech, let's say, that is going to be expected to be at a certain pace, and when it outpaces that expectation, it can throw things into disarray for the enemy. Conversely, if you're doing a scouting situation with a light mech that has MASC, or you suddenly shake the hornet's nest by accident, you can get out of dodge even faster. So I have two examples. There are multiple mechs that have MASC, but I have two examples, and there will be two clan examples because, I'm a clan fan at heart. But before we get there, it's important to note that this technology was developed in 2740. But the first succession war, which happens a few decades after that, is when this technology and other technology becomes lost tech. Lost tech means it's Star League era technology, basically, that the Inner Sphere loses due to conflict. They don't know how to make it, or they may forget they have it. Not literally forget, it's just it gets lost and they just don't have the means to get it back, right? It's important to note that lost tech is only for Inner Sphere. This technology was never lost by the clans. Therefore, even when the Inner Sphere gets it back, clan technological versions of this are going to be superior, not in necessarily output, but they take up less weight and space than the Inner Sphere equivalent. So, MASC is one of the systems that clan versions of are going to be better as well. It's not just the big war gear pieces or fusion engines and the like. It also works its way into all aspects of technology. The clans had a technological renaissance over the centuries and stuff, whereas the Inner Sphere kind of slipped backwards a little bit. Nothing crazy, but they lost a lot of pretty fancy tech and would take centuries to get it back. So with that said, let's look at a couple of examples, one of which MechWarrior 5 actually has in it, and that is the 95-ton assault mech, the Executioner. This thing, doesn't matter if you're looking at it as a short ton or a metric ton, that's heavy no matter how you slice it. So 95 tons is assault mech territory. It's 5 tons shy of the maximum assault mech weight of 100. So you're right up there with the big ones. This mech has MASC. It also has jump jets. It makes it a real dangerous opponent to fight. But we're going to look at the MASC here. So typically, this assault mech, which is decently quick, all things considered, even without MASC, has a top speed of 64 kilometers an hour. Now, for those of us that don't use the archaic metric system, that is roughly 40 miles an hour. It's technically 64 point something, which makes it be truly 40 miles an hour, but whatever. The point is, that's his normal top speed. Now, we're not saying that's fast by any stretch until you start looking at the fact that it weighs 95 tons. That's pretty quick. And we have to remember, We're talking about a mech. This is a bipedal giant robot stomping its way to victory at a max speed normally of 40 miles an hour, which is 64 point something kilometers an hour. However, should it decide to activate its MASC system, you are going to have a pretty good bump up in speed. Now, it has a top speed of 86 kilometers per hour, which is roughly 53 miles per hour. And I will always do that conversion, but the parent metric, if you will, not the metric system, but whatever it's using is how I'm going to talk about it. So they use kilometers, so that's how I'm going to keep talking about this stuff and bring it up first, and that's why, in case you're wondering. Anyways, 86 kilometers per hour or 53 miles per hour, roughly, is the top speed with MASC. Now this is for short bursts, as you do need to allow the leg actuators time to recover more or less. You can't overclock it indefinitely. You don't want to cause damage, because an assault mech with leg damage is going to be slow, for sure, no matter what it is. So you have to be careful. But this surprises foes, for sure. All of a sudden, you have this assault mech that starts just going full tilt and then further beyond for a temporary period of time, and all of a sudden is upon you way faster than you expected. Is never a good thing. So that is rather quick. Again, 95 tons. We're talking heavy stuff here. Bipedal, getting to this speed. Now that's impressive. Also, what's impressive in the Battletech universe and kind of crazy are some of the metrics when it comes to like war gear and the amount of firepower certain mechs can put down range and how much they can outright obliterate in a single shot. However, what eclipses that to me are the speeds achievable by some of these light mechs. And one of the well-known speedsters out there is the Fire Moth of the clans. The Fire Moth is ridiculous. This is a 20-ton mech, so it's the lightest of the light that you could be in terms of a light mech. Its armor is cardboard, and it has a decent amount of firepower, all things considered, to be honest. But all of that pales in comparison to its speed. This is intended to support infantry and for scouting, and boy, oh boy, does it go fast. Now, I'm not trying to say it's the fastest mech, because honestly I don't know that, but I do know that it is ridiculously quick, which definitely earned it its industry designation of Dasher. So the Fire Moth is 20 tons, like I said, with MASC. Now, without MASC, this thing has a staggering top speed of 162 kilometers per hour, which is roughly 100 miles per hour. Remember, it's a 20-ton machine, which isn't light, although it's the lightest of the light mechs. That's still heavy, and it's bipedal. It's not like it has tires, and or it's not like it's flying or anything like that. It is stomping its way to victory at 162 kilometers per hour without MASC. That's just its normal top speed. But if you gotta go fast, you gotta go fast, and you kick it into super high gear with your MASC system engaged on the Fire Moth, which brings you to a whopping 216 kilometers per hour, or roughly 134 miles per hour. Again, bipedal, stomping its way to victory. This thing is booking. And that's impressive, no matter how you slice it. That's an impressive speed for our cars, passenger cars. Full stop. That's impressive. And we have this thing which weighs much more than your typical passenger car doing this speed with MASC. Again, temporary period of time, but when you are going that fast for a temporary period of time, you are covering some serious ground. And you're able to really get out of dodge and out of harm's way really quickly. You're leaving, quite literally, a dust trail. It's pretty fantastic. So those are just some examples for you of what MASC can do, the differences between a normal top speed and then activating MASC. And as you can see, even on the assault mech, it's an impressive change. But on this light mech, it is ludicrous, honestly. Like, there are some crazy stats and figures in the Battletech universe, but bipedal mech top speed to me is one of the crazier ones, because I'm keeping in mind the fact that this is a machine mimicking bipedal movement at such a staggering pace. So, with that said, what are your thoughts on MASC? Do you use it in the video games at all? Do you use mechs that have MASC in the miniature game? Are you a fan of the concept? Do you rather not risk it and deal with the normal top speed? Share it all in the comment section. Thanks so much for tuning in and stopping by. I do stream, by the way. You can check out the link to the video description section of there's a link in there, I should say, that you can check out to go to my streaming channel. Leaving a follow there and subscribing here are both free, and I hope you'll consider doing so you can be part of future conversations in real time or in comment form more easily. And with that out of the way, have a great day. Don't forget to touch some grass. Don't get stuck inside all day unless it's like a super crazy thunderstorm or whatever. And until next time, take care.